Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We're here for another one of your questions about work. And we love repeat guests because then we can get a sense of how some of these ideas evolve over time and grow. And Cynthia Johnson's been with us before. She's a founder. She's a marketing professional. She's written a book. She started Bell and Ivy, which is a personal and employee branding firm. And so last time we talked a bit about something related to this, but this time we're talking about how to error correct, which is I have this way I'm trying to get my personal brand out there. I'm talking, I'm doing stuff, I'm whatevering, but it doesn't seem to be working. How do I know if it's not working? What do I do? And thank you again, for sharing all wisdom and insights.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I love this question because everybody, even if it's working, should be asking this.
Yeah, good point.
Right? Usually the reason it's not working is because we don't know what the goal is. And so the goals change. We're human. What we do, what we need, and what we want, especially in our career and our lives, changes. And so we have to check in and say, why am I doing this? And then you'll know, okay, I can measure it and see if it's working. And then if it's not working, I think sometimes we forget what strategy really means. Strategy.
Right. Well, so what's an example of when people who tend to have one goal and it turns into another, just curious where you see these things sometimes be off, if you will.
Sure. And I give you a personal example. So for me, when I started Bell and Ivy, our goal was to work with investors, entrepreneurs, and founders. And so we wanted to be in publications like Entrepreneur, all the obvious ones, right? I wanted to get into certain crowds and certain networks. So I had to change the content strategy to reach a very specific audience. Well, that changed as we grew and it got bigger. Our team-based campaigns are actually where we spend more time, which are more interesting and more lucrative for us, right? And more beneficial to the company.
What does a team-based campaign mean? I don't even know in that context.
So team-based campaigns is where we would go in and actually work with, let's say, your sales team, your marketing team, where we shift marketing operations slightly and we put these people-based marketing campaigns on top. So we help create content, clean up profiles, align the team with a team mission and goal so that everyone can participate in the team's success. Well, that's very different than working directly with the founder and entrepreneur. Sure. So you have to shift the thinking, you have to shift who we're talking to, you have to shift the message. And because I'm getting inundated with entrepreneurs and founders, and that's great, but it's not the goal anymore. It's changed. So being out there and achieving something that was from a previous, I think, goal it's not helpful to you.
Not going to help you.
Just eats up your time. Just eats up your time.
And sorry, so keep going. What happens if you realize you're off on, you were doing something that actually is aligned with a different strategy than the one you're currently pursuing?
Yeah. So for me, it's stop. Stop. If you're going in the wrong direction, stop. And
so stop means
just stop.
Huh.
Just stop and take the time that you would be spending moving forward in that wrong direction to reevaluating and shifting. People will adjust to you. Just like if you show up one day and you've shaved your head, everyone will go, oh, okay. They will adjust and they'll work around you. It's the same on social media. So make the change, but be deliberate across all platforms at the same time and just say, this is what I'm doing now.
Meaning narrate explicitly what you're trying to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's one that I think a lot of people, including me, struggle with because it's embarrassing to admit that you have a personal brand goal, just can feel inauthentic. And so I'm curious how does one do that?
Well, yeah, but a personal brand goal can also be seen really as a career goal, especially since everyone's working at home. If you don't have a footprint, you're really being left out of a lot of conversations. If you're not putting content out in some form written, you're being left out of the algorithm for the job. You get all these things. So I feel like that just as you would in real life, remember that people want to help you. Most people, we want to get behind you and support you if we can. You just have to tell the world. And if we don't know, we can't support you. The biggest hurdle is your own network, right? your fear of how your friends will view
Perceived by
you.
your friends.
Yeah.
It's sort of like that old Dumbledore
Yeah.
thing about like it takes courage to stand up to your enemies, but it takes even more courage to stand up to your friends. That
Love
thing.
that. Love that.
Yeah,
Yes.
for
Yes.
sure. Okay, so sorry. So keep going. So then let's assume for a second that you've diagnosed what you want to do, you've stopped, you've narrated for folks that you want to try to do something different. What happens then?
Yeah. So the other part of a strategy, right, is the plan. Let's say you have 2 tomatoes and you need 3. Some people, the only resources they have is to cut 1 tomato in half and call it 3. Some people can buy an entire tomato farm. Like, everyone's resources are different. Look at what you're trying to do. Look at the tools in front of you and really view them as that. They're tools, social media tools. And then decide, okay, where do I need to be in order to achieve these goals? Where am I now that's not serving me? Move away from those things and just make sure everyone knows, move forward with that plan. And remember, there's social media, so you want to connect with people, so understand who else is trying to or achieving what your new thing is, and start reaching out.
And so one thing that another kind of change that can happen is a change that isn't about like something just stopped working or I had the wrong goal, but the world changes. And one way in which a lot of us have encountered that is that Twitter as a place, one of the places, Twitter and LinkedIn, where you can find, this is not advice, one of the places where a lot of people spent time building their social media brand, or Instagram people who were like, and then they changed the algorithm and my stuff doesn't show up anymore, or whatever it was. How do you, as a person who has built and advised people on building sustained brands, how do you evolve? Like, I mean, obviously you evolve, but how?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to go where it serves you best. And you have to, if you look at Instagram and you look at their algorithms and their algorithms have changed, you have to ask yourself, is what I'm trying to do, is it worth it for me to lean in here? And if so, where? And take that time to figure it out, right? Like, it's the other piece is, make sure you own something.
Say more about that.
Own a space, whether it's an email list or a website or a whatever it is. Just own something that can't be taken away from you, because algorithms change and websites go down and billionaires buy them. It happens. This is because it's a tool that you're using. So the more you can move your audience into a space that you own, the better. I think email lists are the best way to do it, because they're transferable from platform to platform. Whereas, websites are sort of becoming less, they're great to have, but they're not necessarily.
Who goes to a website anymore? I haven't gone to a website in years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a website. I like having a website, but
no, of course.
But I think that's, but again, you can always take those emails and move people around. And so whatever it takes, like, get people to subscribe.
I love that. It's a good reminder that I need to get back on my email list, which was in good repair for a while and then fell out of good repair. And so I haven't used it very much. Any other parting thoughts before we wrap for folks?
Yeah, I also just remember that social media, it's a business, and they all partner with each other and they have enemies. So know who works together and who doesn't, because you can build platforms. And as an example, if you have a Twitter account and a Medium and they're connected, anytime someone follows you on Medium, if they also have a Twitter, it auto follows there, and vice versa. So you can sort of co-build your platforms in that way. And know to not share Instagram posts on TikTok, etc. So pay attention to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I've definitely noticed it in little things like which links unfold. Instagram links used to unfold on Twitter, and then early on they stopped unfolding because Instagram, I think, wanted to buy Twitter wanted to buy Instagram, but then they went to Facebook, and it's all very Games of Thrones-y. I love that. And one of the things that I really appreciate about your approach is there's a lot of people who are kind of declare expertise in a static, fixed way. Do X, Y, and Z things, and it'll work. This sounds like more of a method for continual reassessment of evaluating, testing, trial and error, all that stuff. I think the other thing that I struggle with is if it seems like it's working, but only like a B, like it's just not that great. I sometimes feel that way about my own sharing online. It's like, I don't know, not single-minded enough. Like, what does this person stand for? All that kind of stuff. And and figuring out how to break through and create something that's really an A, especially when a lot of people have visible personal brands, it just seems to come naturally to them, right? Like they're not, and so that can be psychologically maddening. I'm just curious before we wrap, if you have any thoughts on, if it's not like it's failing, but it's just only okay, then what do you do?
Yeah, that's remember who you're talking to. That's, you cannot be everything to everyone all the time, but you can be very important to a very specific group. And sometimes we get just a little bit too broad. And that's where the bees come in. It's good, but it's not really speaking to me directly.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's that it's, just gets diluted. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cynthia. That's great. Again, this is not advice because you're not actually telling anybody what to do. That would be talking your book. You're telling them how you think about it. And then, whether they decide, with the exception of email, you are telling them to keep an email list.
Mm-hmm.
But with the exception of that, the rest of it is not advice. And so really appreciate it. And would love to have you back again and again. And thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me. And I will see you again on Twitter.